Wednesday, November 26, 2025 started like any other day at Wong Fuk Court in Tai Po, Hong Kong. Families were finishing lunch. Elderly residents were settling in for their afternoon routines, and domestic workers were preparing for the evening. Nobody could have imagined that within hours, this ordinary apartment complex would become the scene of Hong Kong's deadliest fire in nearly 8 decades, claiming at least 128 lives and forever changing thousands more. Harry Chung had lived in Block 2 of Wong Fuk Court for over 40 years. At 66 years old, he knew every corner of this place he called home. That afternoon, around 2:45, he heard something that made his heart stop, a deafening explosion-like sound that echoed through the buildings. When he looked out his window, he saw flames consuming a nearby block. The fire was spreading with terrifying speed. Harry immediately rushed to gather his belongings, his hands shaking as he grabbed what he could. Later, speaking to reporters, his voice trembled with shock and disbelief as he said he didn't even know where he would sleep. That night, unable to comprehend that his home of 4 decades was being destroyed before his eyes. Jason Kong lived in Block 1 with his beloved dog. When he received a text message around 3 in the afternoon saying the roof was on fire, he didn't panic at first. He thought the fire in Block 3 wouldn't spread that quickly to his building. He was wrong. The fire moved with unnatural speed, engulfing building after building in what witnesses described as the blink of an eye. When Jason tried to run into his building to rescue his dog, police officers physically stopped him. It was already too dangerous. Standing behind the barricade, watching his home burn with his pet still inside, Jason broke down completely. "I'm devastated," he told reporters through tears. "I have so many neighbors and friends. I don't know what's happening anymore. How are we going to deal with this?" The Wong Fuk Court complex consisted of 8 residential towers, each standing 31 stories tall. Built in 1983. According to the 2021 census, nearly 5,000 people called this place home. About 40% of residents were senior citizens aged 65 and above, people who had spent their entire lives building memories in these apartments, raising families, celebrating holidays, growing old together. This was more than just a housing complex. It was a community, a neighborhood where everyone knew each other's names. For nearly a year, the entire complex had been undergoing extensive renovations. All 8 towers were wrapped completely in traditional bamboo scaffolding from ground to roof, covered with green protective mesh and construction netting. The renovation project was meant to improve the buildings, to make them safer and more modern. Instead, it created the perfect conditions for catastrophe. Flammable expanded polystyrene foam boards, essentially styrofoam, had been placed over windows on every single floor. These materials would become the accelerant that turned a containable fire into an inferno. At exactly 2:51 in the afternoon on November 26, the fire began. Initial investigations suggest it started in the scaffolding on the lower floors of Wong Chung House, also known as Block 6. The exact cause remains under investigation. But what happened next was captured by witnesses and will haunt them forever. The flames caught the bamboo scaffolding and green mesh netting, then found the polystyrene foam boards covering the windows. Polystyrene is highly flammable. It ignites easily and burns intensely hot. Within moments, the fire was racing upward along the exterior of the building, spreading from floor to floor with devastating speed. The heat was so intense that windows began shattering from the thermal stress. As glass exploded outward, the fire found its way inside the apartments through the broken windows. Residents who were inside their homes suddenly found themselves surrounded by flames with no warning. Many people were trapped in their apartments as fire blocked hallways and stairwells. The smoke was thick and black, making it impossible to see or breathe. The temperature inside some areas reached or exceeded 500 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt metal, hot enough to make survival nearly impossible. Mui Sufeng, a district council member who rushed to the scene, stood in horror, watching the flames consume the buildings. You could see the flames from inside, through the windows," he said, his voice filled with disbelief. The site was apocalyptic. 7 of the 8 towers were engulfed in fire simultaneously. Massive columns of black smoke rising hundreds of feet into the air, visible for miles. The heat was so intense that people standing 500 meters away could feel it on their faces. The smell of burning plastic, wood, and materials filled the air for hours. A university student named Thomas Liu was passing by when he saw the smoke. He stopped, unable to look away from the horrific scene unfolding before him. "When you approach, the heat increases and you can feel it, and the smoke is very dense," he told reporters. It's a disaster. The sheer scale of the fire was overwhelming. It wasn't just one building burning. It was 7 massive towers simultaneously ablaze, each one 31 stories tall, packed with families, elderly people, children, workers, pets, and decades of memories. Inside the buildings, chaos and terror reigned. Many residents reported that the fire alarms never sounded. Think about that for a moment. The most basic safety system, the one thing designed to give people those precious extra minutes to escape, failed completely. Post-fire inspections revealed that fire alarms in all 8 buildings were not functional. Residents had no early warning system. By the time many people realized what was happening, escape routes were already cut off by flames and smoke. Some people were trapped in their apartments, banging on windows, calling for help that couldn't reach them in time. The Fire Services Department mobilized over 800 firefighters to battle the blaze. These brave men and women rushed toward danger while everyone else was fleeing. They faced unimaginable conditions: extreme heat, collapsing bamboo scaffolding, zero visibility from smoke, and the constant risk of structural collapse. One of the first firefighters on the scene was 37-year-old Ho Wai-ho. He collapsed while fighting the fire and suffered severe burns to his face, becoming one of the 128 confirmed deaths. The government described him as dedicated and courageous, a hero who gave his life trying to save others. 12 other firefighters were injured, one critically from heat stroke. During those horrific hours, miraculous rescues did occur. A baby and an elderly woman were pulled from the flames early Wednesday evening, when the buildings were already engulfed. Rescue workers risked their lives entering burning structures to search for survivors. They worked around the clock, climbing over mountains of collapsed bamboo scaffolding, wading through deep puddles of water from firefighting efforts, wearing full protective gear in the suffocating heat, searching apartment by apartment, floor by floor. When they finally finished their search operations on Friday, they had not only recovered bodies, but also rescued 3 cats and a turtle. Small miracles amid overwhelming tragedy. A woman who lived in the complex for over 40 years with her husband received a text message from a friend warning her about the fire just seconds before alarms finally sounded. She was 65 years old. She and her husband immediately began evacuating, but she tried to warn her neighbor, first an elderly man in his 80s who had difficulty walking and lived alone. She knocked on his door desperately, called out his name, but got no answer. She had to leave him behind to save herself. Days later, when interviewed by reporters, she still hadn't heard from him. The guilt and grief in her voice was unbearable as she explained how she had no choice but to keep moving to survive. By Friday afternoon, November 28th, the official death toll had reached 128 people. 124 bodies were found at the scene, and 4 people died in hospitals from their injuries. 79 people were injured, but the numbers don't tell the complete story. About 200 people remained unaccounted for. Some may have evacuated and not yet registered with authorities, but many are feared dead, their bodies still trapped in the charred buildings. 16 burned bodies remained inside the structures when rescue operations officially ended, too dangerous to retrieve immediately. Authorities warned the death toll would likely rise as police continued searching through the rubble during their criminal investigation. The human toll extends far beyond those who died or were physically injured. Thousands of residents lost everything they owned: homes, possessions, photo albums, heirlooms. decades of accumulated life. About 1,500 residents were relocated to hotels, hostels, and transitional housing. 1,000 survivors were housed in community shelters. Families were torn apart. Children lost parents. Parents lost children. The Indonesian Foreign Ministry confirmed at least 2 Indonesian domestic workers were among the dead, with 11 more Indonesian migrants working in the complex still missing. The investigation into what caused this tragedy revealed shocking failures at multiple levels. Residents of Wong Fuk Court had been raising safety concerns about the renovation materials for almost a year before the fire. Documents show they specifically complained about the flammability of the netting covering the scaffolding. Hong Kong's Labor Department confirmed receiving these complaints and had conducted 16 inspections of the renovation project since July 2024. They had warned contractors multiple times in writing to ensure fire safety requirements were met. An inspection was carried out as recently as 1 week before the fire. Despite all these warnings and inspections, the deadly materials remained in place. Preliminary investigations found that the green mesh netting covering the scaffolding met fire-resistant standards. But the polystyrene foam boards placed outside windows were highly flammable. These boards acted as accelerant, allowing fire to spread rapidly both vertically and horizontally across the building exteriors. When the boards caught fire, the extreme heat shattered windows and flames poured inside apartments, igniting interiors. The combination of bamboo scaffolding, which is combustible, and polystyrene boards created a perfect storm of fire hazards completely surrounding all 8 buildings. Authorities arrested 11 people in connection with the fire on charges including manslaughter, corruption, and safety violations. 3 men were arrested early on, 2 directors of Prestige Construction, the company doing maintenance work on the complex, and an engineering consultant. 8 more people were arrested Friday, including directors of a consultancy firm advising on the renovation, project managers, scaffolding subcontractors, and an intermediary. The Labor Department revealed that the construction company had been prosecuted 3 times for safety violations, resulting in fines totaling 30,000 Hong Kong dollars, less than 4,000 US dollars. This same company had been fined 3 additional times in 2023 for unrelated violations. The pattern of violations and minimal penalties raises serious questions about enforcement and accountability. The fire was classified as a Level 5 fire, the highest and most severe classification in Hong Kong. The last time Hong Kong experienced a Level 5 fire was in 2008 at Cornwall Court in the Mung Kok Commercial District. But the Wong Fuk Court fire became the deadliest in Hong Kong in almost 80 years, surpassing the 1962 Sham Shui Po fire that killed 44 people and the 1996 Kowloon commercial building fire that killed 41. Only the 1948 Wing On warehouse fire in Shek Tong Sui, which killed 176 people, was deadlier in Hong Kong's modern history. The Hong Kong government responded by establishing a 300 million Hong Kong dollar support fund for victims. By Saturday, public donations had reached $800 million, an overwhelming show of support from the community. Major companies pledged millions for relief efforts. Volunteers mobilized by the thousands to help survivors, sorting and distributing supplies from diapers to hot meals. Community centers became hubs of compassion and solidarity as Hong Kong united to support the victims. On Saturday, November 29th, Hong Kong observed 3 days of official mourning. Flags flew at half-staff across the territory. Chief Executive John Lee led a 3-minute silence at government headquarters with officials dressed in black. Condolence books were set up at 18 locations around the city for people to pay respects. Near the fire site, flowers piled up, white roses, lilies, carnations left by mourners who came to grieve. Among the flowers, someone had placed a sign asking the question on everyone's mind. More than 128 innocent lives. What did they do wrong? Outside the building where family members came to identify their loved ones from photographs, Sarah Yu held the hand of her 2-year-old son, Dominic. Together, they placed single white roses into the growing memorial. The scene was repeated over and over, families searching for closure. Hoping against hope for news of missing loved ones, trying to process grief too enormous to comprehend. Only 39 of the 128 dead had been identified by Friday. The rest were so badly burned that identification would require forensic analysis. This tragedy raises profound questions about urban safety, building regulations, renovation oversight, and the use of traditional materials in modern contexts. Bamboo scaffolding has been used in Hong Kong for centuries because bamboo grows quickly, is lightweight, and is extremely strong. It's considered iconic to Hong Kong's urban landscape, one of the last places in the world still using it in modern construction. But last March, Hong Kong's development department had been trying to phase out bamboo in favor of steel because of safety concerns. The pressure to replace bamboo intensified after a series of scaffolding-related deaths. Officials cited bamboo's intrinsic weaknesses, including variation in mechanical properties, deterioration over time, and high combustibility as reasons for the change. This fire may finally force that transition, but the cost was unconscionably high. The parallels to the 2017 Grenfell Tower fire in London are impossible to ignore. In that tragedy, 72 people died when fire rapidly engulfed a residential tower due to flammable cladding materials on the exterior. A subsequent inquiry blamed government regulators and industry for systemic failures that allowed known fire hazards to remain in place. Grenfell United, a survivors group, posted on social media expressing solidarity. Our hearts go out to all those affected by the horrific fire in Hong Kong. The lesson from Grenfell was clear-cutting corners on fire, safety costs lives. Yet here we are again, with another preventable tragedy caused by flammable building materials that regulators knew were dangerous. China's State Council responded to the Hong Kong fire by launching a nationwide campaign to investigate fire hazards in high-rise buildings, particularly those undergoing renovation. The initiative focuses on comprehensive fire safety management to prevent similar tragedies. Fire departments across mainland China began publishing guides on high-rise building fire prevention and escape procedures. But these reactive measures, while necessary, come too late for the 128 people who died in Hong Kong and the hundreds of families forever changed by this disaster. For the survivors, the pain is just beginning. Where do you go when your home is destroyed? How do you rebuild when you've lost everything? How do you move forward when neighbors and friends are gone? The psychological trauma will last for years. Children will need counseling. Elderly residents who lost lifetime homes may never fully recover from the shock. The woman who couldn't save her elderly neighbor will carry that guilt. Jason Kang, who couldn't rescue his dog, will relive that moment. Harry Chung, who doesn't know where he'll sleep after 40 years in the same apartment, must somehow start over at 66. These are the human costs that statistics cannot capture. This tragedy demands accountability, transparency, and systemic change. It demands that governments take fire safety seriously, that regulations are enforced, that complaints from residents are heard, that corners are not cut to save money, that human lives are valued above construction timelines and profit margins. It demands that when people raise safety concerns, they are listened to and action is taken, not ignored, until disaster strikes. The residents of Wong Fu Court warned authorities for a year about the dangerous materials. They were told the fire risk was low. They were wrong, and 128 people paid with their lives. As Hong Kong mourns and begins the long process of healing, the world must learn from this catastrophe. Modern cities everywhere house millions of people in high-rise buildings. Fire safety cannot be an afterthought. Building materials must be carefully chosen and tested. Renovation projects on occupied buildings require extra vigilance. Fire alarms must work. Inspection systems must have teeth. Warning signs must be heeded before tragedy strikes, not after. The 128 people who died at Wong Fu Court deserved better protection. Their deaths should not be in vain. Their memory demands that we do better, that we ensure this never happens again, anywhere to anywhere.